Vinita Ji, welcome back to the iRonik show. Who can get into Sri Vidya?
We don't get to choose Sri Vidya. Sri
Yeah.
Vidya chooses us. Yantra, Mantra, Mudra, and the Kundalini Shakti. If we remember these four things, then we have understood Sri Vidya in its entirety.
What's the typical duration of sadhana that you do in a day?
About 3.5 to 4 hours.
It's something that people have to give up.
What happens is you lose all the lower, baser impulses. ॐ श्रीवर्चस्वमायुष्यमारोग्यमा विधाचोपमानं महीयते धान्यं धनं पशुं बहुपुत्रलाभं शतसंवत्सरं दीर्घमायुः श्रीमात्रे नमः.
I would like to touch upon some of the comments that we received on our last podcast. I'm really enjoying the conversation. I don't want it to end. Last month, we did a blockbuster podcast with Vinita Ji, which was more on the basics of Tantra, Sri Vidya, which is a path of Lalita Sundari. This podcast is more of a sequel to the previous one, wherein we go deeper into Sri Vidya. My suggestion would be, if you haven't already watched the previous one, go watch that. Come back to watch this one to gain more value out of this. In this podcast, we have added a segment wherein Vinita Ji answers to the comments that we received on the previous podcast, and I'm sure you will love it. Before you start enjoying this episode, please make sure to subscribe us on YouTube and Spotify and follow us across all over social media. Enjoy. Vinita Ji, welcome back to the iRonik show. Last time we did a really, blockbuster podcast, and we really hope that we'll surpass that. So, welcome back, ma'am.
Sri Matre Namaha, Ronik ji. Thank
Sri
you for
Matre Nama.
inviting me back. It's always a pleasure to spread Devi consciousness through any channel which is available.
Right.
And I appreciate that you are also a part of spreading this sacred knowledge. So thank you for that. My heartfelt gratitude.
Thank you. The time is such with Navratri, Diwali, and everything. The female energy, the divine feminine energy is really, really high, and we all can feel that. So, I also ordered a book today by the name of Shakti. I'm forgetting the author's name. I saw this book sometime few days back in one of the bookstores, and I was there with my wife, and we are both really intrigued and amazed by the overall book. It's a very thick book. So, Vinita ji, last time we had a discussion on Sri Vidya, Sri Yantra, overall Tantra practices. So, we literally scratched the surface on Sri Vidya, Lalita Tripura Sundari. So, the agenda of today's discussion will to get a little deeper into it to help people, because after the podcast, I was really amazed by the engagement that we are getting. So lately, this was one of the really highly engaged episode for us, where we got many many comments on YouTube, many comments on Instagram. Obviously, negative, positive, both, but mostly 90% of it was positive, and people wanting to learn more and more. So that really pushed me to request you again for a deeper discussion on this topic. And thank you so much for your time for that. Where do we start? How do we start? Because it's your domain. I would really request your guidance. Where do we start from? I was thinking about, let's start a bit about Sri Vidya. I mean, who can get into Sri Vidya? And probably the next line of question would be, how did you start your Sri Vidya practice? So whatever feels comfortable for you, let's go that way.
Who can start with Sri Vidya? I always like to reaffirm that we don't get to choose Sri Vidya. Sri
Yeah.
Vidya chooses us. So it's important to just have devotion and a sense of surrender when one wants to enter the path of Sri Vidya. Which brings us to the question, what is Sri Vidya? Sri is Ashraya, comes from the word Ashraya or abundance.
Okay.
So in Sri Vidya, the basic premise which I have understood is that let me provide ashraya to many people. Let me not seek shelter with anyone except my mother, the Divine Mother. That
Okay.
is Sri Vidya in a capsule.
Okay.
Now, what does Sri Vidya comprise of? It is the knowledge of Sri, which means the knowledge of abundance, the knowledge of manifestation, the knowledge of everything which is auspicious. It contains basically just four factors which we have to keep in mind. The basic premise on which it stands, the main pillar is that of Advaita, and the four other pillars on which it rests are Yantra, Mantra, Mudra, and the Kundalini Shakti. If we remember these four things, then we have understood Sri Vidya in its entirety.
You'll have to explain a bit about these four pillars.
Okay. Yantra is the sacred geometry,
Yeah.
and for Sri Vidya, the yantra which is particularly capable of harnessing the energy of the universe is the Shri Yantra. It's also known as the Shri Chakra Yantra.
Right.
The mantra can range from a very simple Bala Tripura Sundari mantra, which is just three bijas, to the very elaborate Lalita Sahastranama, the Lalita Trishati, the Muka Panchashati. There are so many mantras in the Sri Vidya tradition which we gradually learn. So it's like
Right.
starting at kindergarten level with the Bala Tripura Sundari mantra and then eventually reaching a point where we are comfortable narrating, chanting, understanding the major verses like the Lalita Sahasranama or the
Right.
Mukha Panchashati. Now we come to the mudras. As we know, all our nerve endings are in our palms. So mudras are very important in Sanatana, in the yogic tradition, in meditation, also in Sri Vidya, because they become a way of aligning your internal energies. Which brings us to the last point, which is that of Kundalini Shakti. We all are aware that this is our Sthula Sharira, which is the gross physical body. Over and above that is the Sukshma Sharira, which is the energy body. And beyond these two lies what is known as the Karana Sharira. But for this discussion, we have to take into consideration the Sukshma Sharira, which is the energy body, which is where we have the main spinal cord, which can be considered as the Sushumna Nadi, and we have the Ida and Pingala, okay, which takes this energy in the same way as you see how a DNA is, the double helix. It takes it all the way from the Mooladhara chakra to the Sahasrara chakra, which lies just at the top of anyone's head, above the fontanelle. So the idea in Sri Vidya is to ensure that the energies move upward, and our efforts are to generate the movement of this energy in an upward direction, traversing through all the chakras and eventually becoming one with the Sahasrara. Just like how Shiva and Shakti come together in the Sri Yantra in the Bindu, so also all the energies come together in the Sahasrara chakra.
Okay.
So this, in short, is what the Sri Vidya practices are all about.
Okay. And before we go deeper into it, I would like to know how did it start for you? I mean, when did you feel the calling or the presence of the deity of Ma, and you thought ki this is my, I mean, this would be my way, this would be my path.
This was in 2018. My daughter had just got married, and the next day,
Hmm.
my husband had a heart attack.
Okay.
And because of that, I was not able to travel. I could not, my work was such that I was constantly traveling across the globe. I had to take a break
Mhm.
for about a month because I was the primary caregiver. And because I was in Mysore, and that was the time of the Mysore Dasra, which is the Navratri.
Okay.
and that is the main
Right.
festival in Mysore. It's very famous across the world. And on the first day of Dasra, because I didn't really have any other work, someone had invited me for a festivity in their house
Hmm.
where
Hmm.
the Lalita Sahastranama was being chanted. And the first
Okay.
time I heard it, I felt like this was not something that was new for me. I almost instinctively felt like I knew it. I understood some parts of it. And I came back thinking that all of this has happened for a reason. But I did not pay too much attention to it. But I did attend the 9 days of the Lalita Sahasranama chanting. And after that, I really don't know what happened, why there was such a shift in my entire consciousness. I continued to work. It was not that I gave up what I was doing.
Right.
Apart from the work that I was doing, which was completely time consuming, I also made time to start my practice. I started with the Bala Tripura Sundari mantra. I started learning about the Sri Yantra. And the Sri Yantra also came to me very miraculously. I think a month after all of this happened, I was thinking that I should uh, go and purchase a Sri Yantra. I thought Chennai would be a good place. But before that happened, I acquired the Sri Yantra in a very mysterious fashion. And it came to me when I was in London on work. So it was very surprising that here I was in India, couldn't get it, and then it came to me in London. And then from there, it was like just one event after another. And I did go to Chennai eventually. And I was meditating there, and that's where I got the insight that I have to write about the Sri Yantra. That was my mission at that point of time. That was the purpose that she had chosen me for. And that was my first book, which was about the Sri Yantra. And at that time, there was not much information. And for all the readers of my books, you will see that it's a very simple narration, nothing complex about the book. In fact, when I look back at it, I think it's almost childlike in its innocence, the way I have approached the subject. But I started there, and from there, many things happened, many books happened. I just finished my sixth book is out, and when I look
Yeah.
back, I really don't know where all of that came from. But through my writings, through my talks, and through the various initiations I have done, I think there has been I have been able to bring about Devi consciousness, at least to about 2000 or 2500 people.
Absolutely, ma'am. And I am a I had a first-hand experience of that after our last episode that we did. There were so many people who reached out, and so many people who, on the comment section also of the podcast on Instagram and YouTube, we received so many comments where they were praising you, they were, literally thanking you for bringing them on that path. So yes, I can feel that what you're trying to say. Okay. So now that it started for you, right? Uh, how, so 2018 you said it started for you, right? And when did you get full time into it? As you mentioned that you had to work before that.
It was only in 2024 January that I decided
Okay,
that
this year.
I am done with the nature of the work that I was doing, which was
Hmm.
very intense and very occupying in that sense. And I wanted to
Hmm.
dedicate myself to living like a hermit and practice my sadhana fully and just
Okay.
write, do my practice, and try to live as sattvic a life as possible while trying to spread Devi consciousness. It's only been
And
10 months now.
what do you mean by Sattvic life?
Trying to cut out all the stimulants, whether it
Hmm.
be television or whether it
Hmm.
be fast food, outside food. Try to just keep it as simple and as pure and clean as possible for the body, the mind, and the spirit. Also, consciously trying to avoid the word I, because many people have pointed out that up until now it was coming out of a place of ego. In fact, someone once pointed out that in one sentence I had used I 17 times, which kind of showed me that I was still in that ego state. Now, one aspect of the sattvic movement in my life is also to eradicate the I-ness and live more for others, for other beings, than just merely for myself.
So if I'm just trying to explore more about the sattvic life. So I also heard somewhere that like we discussed last time, I mentioned to you that I have given up alcohol, given up non-veg, and that has happened organically. I think it happens most of us organically only. If people try to push themselves, it's not really, it does not really help. Now when that happens, and I'm talking about the Sri Vidya line of practice. Now, when people are starting to get into that, first non-veg cut off, then maybe probably alcohol goes out of the picture. I also heard, as you also mentioned, that junk food also slowly goes away, right? So, and on the physical part of it, is something, sorry, I'm asking you very bluntly, that is something that people have to give up, or probably they give a physical pleasure as well, or is that not touched upon and it is considered natural and it can be continued?
In Tantra, it is considered natural and can be continued. That is the reason why I don't recommend that very young people get into the practice very deeply.
Okay.
Because in a way, what happens is you lose all those impulses, all the lower, baser impulses, your
Yeah.
bodily needs, your physical needs, they kind of get obfuscated. So, for someone who's young, they still have a life role to play.
Absolutely.
They have to fulfill many of the obligations, with not merely for themselves, but because they're in the role of a husband or a father or boyfriend or whatever it is. Which is why I always say, practice, do your sadhana, but don't go deeply into it and take on full time practice. Not when you're younger, at least. Not until you have fulfilled all your social obligations.
Actually, that was my question. I mean, I meant it for younger people who probably have just got married and they are getting into Sri Vidya. So how will that pan out for them? So thank you for clarifying that. Now, just I will
And I just
again get
wanted
back to
to
the
add
same.
here, Ronik,
Yeah, please.
if I may,
Yeah.
because I also
Yes,
do
please. Go
spiritual counseling and I've done it for a
ahead.
very long period of time. There is one thing which I have observed, that people who got into spirituality at a younger age and who gave up everything to go and be in an ashram or took up this renunciate path, 10, 15 years down the line, they have come back with utmost disappointment, feeling now they have lost the best years of their life and there is nothing to show for it. And because I deal with these people on an everyday basis, I see the pain that they put themselves through. My
Okay.
advice coming from that background is, don't get into spirituality thinking that it is going to solve all your problems. It is not going to solve any problem. If anything, it will bring more problems to your doorstep because your karma is getting expedited. Think of spirituality in small doses. Think of it as a supplement that you take along with your everyday life until a point in your life where you're 55, 56, nearing retirement, all your obligations are complete. At that time, it can become your main meal. Until then, it is just a supplement.
Do you think that this overdose of knowledge on the internet is pushing people towards this path without having the proper knowledge, proper guidance?
It is giving them a vision, a dream, which they feel is achievable, is tangible. But when they step into it wholeheartedly and they give so many years of their life thinking that it's going to come tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and it's not going to come, there is tremendous disappointment. I see it again and again, and I cannot reinforce this enough that spirituality does not have all the answers. It should not be seen as an escape from the reality of life.
Mm.
If anything, it should awaken you to the reality of life.
Absolutely. Now, going back to my last question regarding physical pleasure and non-veg. So, in some practices of Tantra, non-veg, liquor, it's all allowed and it's also part of the process, the sadhana practice. So, overall Tantra and the path of Sri Vidya. Can you please help us compare the two paths in terms of these three non-veg,
Sri
liquor, and
Vidya
sex?
is the Dakshina Marga. In
Okay.
Tantra, you've got Vamachara, which is the left hand path, which is what you're talking about, the Panchamakaras. We do
Okay.
not go there at all. Ours is the
Okay.
pure right hand path of God, where it is largely ritualistic worship of the yantra, mantra, mudra, and the energies. That is it. So it is
Okay.
Dakshina Marga.
Okay.
There is nothing that we touch with the Panchamakaras. Absolutely nothing. We have to be very clear about this. Our path is almost Vedic in its pattern.
Okay.
Even though it originates in the Tantra, it is pure, almost Vedic. I would not say purely Vedic, it is Vedic in its nature.
So, when you went on to this path, this is a personal question. Please, if you don't want to answer it, it's up to you. There's no pressure. So, when you started on this path, were there any, how do I put it, were there any sort of restrictions from your family or there any sort of opposition from the family?
There is bound to be opposition when anyone steps into the spiritual path simply because your loved ones are concerned for you. They don't
Right.
want you to lead a difficult life, and the spiritual path is a difficult one. So, in that sense,
Absolutely.
there is
Right.
always resistance. Many people cannot understand, leave alone family, even your circle of friends can't understand why one would give up all that one has in life to live like a hermit, where I do my own dishes, I wash my own
Yeah.
clothes, I cook my own food, where it's not necessary for me to do all of this, but this is the path I have chosen. And it's difficult for people to come to terms with that, and they sometimes, I think, they feel sorry for me. But eventually I know what I want, and it doesn't matter to me what other people are saying. I have done all my duties. I continue to fulfill all my social obligations. But this is the path now, and it is very clear for me that from here, it is only Mata for me. Nothing else matters.
So, I had this really interesting conversation with someone, one of my friends who is also deeply into meditation and Shakti practice. So she mentioned that she was not into, was getting into sadhana of female deity. But someone introduced her, and she says that this is the best thing that has happened to me. Right? I did not ask which deity or which ma she worships. I did not
It
go
doesn't
into that.
matter which one,
But
as
yeah,
it's just Shakti worship at the end of the day.
so one interesting fact that came out, and we came to a conclusion that whenever someone goes into Shakti sadhana, one thing that definitely happens, the skin improves.
True.
The quality of the skin improves. Because if you remember last time we were discussing on this, you mentioned that many people have told you that you don't look like your age, and
Yeah.
even I told you that when you joined, I was a bit perplexed. Even my wife told me a few days back we were discussing about this because she was also out with me with that friend. So I told her that, do you remember that I did a podcast with Vinita Rashinkar ji? And she mentioned that this is her hedge. She said, "Are you crazy? She does not look like that." I said, "No, it's the reality." And then when my friend told me that this is reality, I could really connect to that.
It's not
Does it
just
happen only to?
it's not
Yes,
just
please,
about
please.
the quality of the skin.
Yeah.
It's also a lot of people write back to me saying that their cooking skills have improved, that they're better
Okay.
artists, that whatever they do in life somehow
Hmm.
turns out better because of their Shakti sadhana. And I think when women say the food that we cook is tastier,
Hmm.
it's coming from their heart, because that's what is being told to them at the table, that, oh wow,
Yeah.
this is so delicious today. So it's an immediate validation which they're hearing. So I think it shows up in all aspects of life. When we are sincere in our sadhana,
Hmm.
they say that there is a certain aura which comes into a person even as they start
Yeah.
chanting the Lalita Sahastranama. And there's a
Okay.
clarity of thought. There's a the vak shuddhi also happens. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like the oratorial skills, our ability to express, our ability to communicate improves radically. So we become better at relationships in that sense. There is lesser anger, because also there's an element of surrender. Everything that happens,
Right.
we start thinking there's a reason for this, so there is no need to be angry, there is no need to be sad. And that brings about a change in one's demeanor. But important thing which my guru, when we were starting off into Sri Vidya, always used to say was, when you're a Sri Vidya sadhaka, you have to do everything with grace. Always be a smitamukhi, always maintain a smile. And it is even in Lalita Sahasranama, one of the names that she has is Smitamukhi,
Hmm. Okay.
which means everything we do has to be mindful. No throwing things around, always practice deliberation.
Hmm.
That is a very feminine quality. And when you do that, you bring that to your cooking, you bring that to your knitting, you bring it to any activity, and see the beauty that comes out of it. Sri Vidya is not merely a philosophy, it's not
Hmm.
merely a sadhana. It's about applying it in everyday life and seeing how the quality of your life improves radically.
Okay. On a lighter note, this skin improvement, does it happen only with the females or with the male also?
That's a very interesting question, because a lot of men write in saying that people warn them, saying if you do Shakti sadhana, you will become more effeminate. And I want to say here that it
Hmm.
is entirely untrue. If, as a man, you discover your feminine side, it does not mean that you will become more feminine. It will
Right.
mean
Right.
you will be a better man. This has to be
Absolutely.
understood
Absolutely.
well. So, if you are a better cook, it will make you a better human being. Does not make you any more feminine than you already are. It will make you a better human being. Does not
So,
make you feminine.
just to let you know, I'm an excellent cook.
Wow.
But since the time I left non-veg, so my forte was non-veg, cooking non-veg. But since the time I have left that, I'm still coming in terms with cooking veg items. So that's a learning phase for me. But I'm an excellent cook.
Hmm.
Uh,
And one more thing, since we are on this topic, which I want to
uh,
clarify, there are some people who have said that all Sri Vidya mantras are cursed. So,
Cursed in a sense?
cursed, they give some explanation. There is one
Hmm.
elderly gentleman who has, he's from a Telugu background, and he has said all Sri Vidya mantras are cursed. So, a lot of people now are apprehensive that they're chanting a cursed mantra. I just want
Okay.
people to understand that there is no such thing as a cursed mantra. And even if there is, let us
Hmm.
assume for a moment that this exists. The guru, when they're giving you the initiation, will have the ability to remove that curse and only then give you the initiation.
Okay.
So they should lose all the fear. Let go of all these anxiety causing things which come into your mind when you want to start on the path of Sri Vidya.
Okay, so while we are on this topic, could you please help us understand what kind of myths or what kind of false narratives are spread in terms of which are restricting people from getting into Sri Vidya?
Largely, what you already said about eating
Hmm.
non-vegetarian food, about
Hmm.
leading a good conjugal life, about how for men it makes them effeminate, and the last
Hmm.
one is that Sri Vidya mantras are cursed. And
Okay.
overarching above all of this is this one thing, that it needs initiation from a guru. It needs initiation from a guru at a very later stage, not at the initial stages. I would liken it to when you're going through school and through
Hmm.
university, you don't really need a personal guide. It's only when you're doing your PhD, you have your thesis to submit, that you need a guide to take you through each step of your thesis, right? Until then, you've managed with all the teachers who are already there. So this sadhana has to be like that. And at a point when you need the guru will appear and give you whatever initiation you require. For till Lalita Sahastranama, including Lalita Sahastranama, you do not need a guru. You can do it on your own, swadhyaya, self learning.
So before we get deep into Sri Vidya,
Hmm.
learn more about it from you.
Hmm.
Few very black and white small questions. So, does practicing Sri Vidya make you a better observer in terms of a better judge of anyone's character or the energy of the? Let's not say character, does not seem nice.
Hmm.
More about the energy of a particular person.
Because you become much more aware of your own energies,
Hmm.
so you're immediately able to identify what
Hmm.
kind of energy pattern someone is bringing to the table.
Hmm.
For instance, if you meet someone whose energy is not aligning with yours, now immediately you have this awareness which you did not have earlier on, because you were not
Right.
aware of your own energy impulses, your own energy sphere, your aura. It's not just Sri Vidya, I would say any spiritual path that you undertake will make you more aware of what all energies are surrounding you. So, for someone who is already on any kind of path, be it
Hmm.
meditation,
Hmm.
be it chanting, even just attending some kirtans, they go into a space and they're immediately able to assess whether this space is giving me a good vibe or not. And usually, it it is a judicious judgment. It's a fairly accurate judgment. It's not something that they're just making up in the spur of the moment. It's something which is instinctive.
Okay, now let's talk about a bit more about Sri Vidya. Now, when someone has got the calling of the deity of the Ma and is now initiate getting into the path of Sri Vidya, what is the first step?
It's not just one thing.
Hmm.
It has to be all these four things included.
Right,
If not
right.
four, at least the three things. Leave out the mudras for the moment.
Hmm.
Yantra, mantra, and the kundalini. These three
Okay.
most important.
Hmm.
If you can add the mudras, fine. If not, no problem. At least these three to start with. So the meditation on the Sri Yantra every day is very important, because
Okay.
that gives you insights which takes you deeper into the path of Sri Vidya. Then some mantra chanting, whether it's japa or stotra, because chanting can be done in two ways. Either you can do japa, which is like the short bija mantra. It can be manasika japa, or it can be verbally said, can be
Hmm.
articulated, or you can do one of the stotras, like you can do Lalita Tripura Sundari, the Lalita Sahasranama, or the Ashtakam, or the Khadgamala, any one of these.
Hmm.
So you have to
Okay.
decide which one, what works, whether japa works for you, stotra works for you. You have to determine that. And you have to focus on your chakras and
Hmm.
understand the energies, which is like scan your chakras every day, perhaps, as a part of this
Hmm.
practice, and see what if everything is working optimally and if the energy flow is consistent and you're comfortable with it.
Coming to the first pillar, which is the yantra. Now you mentioned that the first step would be to meditate on the yantra.
Yes.
Is there a time duration that is defined, that this is the time duration that you have to meditate upon, or it depends on the person? Because if someone is starting to meditate, it's difficult for them to sit for hours, right? It could be 10-15 minutes in the beginning.
To begin
Okay,
with,
2 or 3
2 or
minutes.
3 minutes to get an
Okay.
understanding of the yantra, because the
Hmm.
more you keep looking at it,
Hmm.
the more insights you will get. So it's just a 2 or 3 minute practice to begin with. And later,
Okay.
as your sadhana improves, increases, the quality, the quantity, the time that you spend deepens, naturally your meditation will also become a little more prolonged.
Is there anything defined in terms that this should be the ideal duration when you have probably reached that certain level of your sadhana?
No.
Okay.
The ultimate level in sadhana is when there is no practice whatsoever and you have internalized everything. Antarmukha samaradhya bahirmukha sudurlabha means you have found her inside of you. Now the Sri Yantra is also inside of you. The mantra is also in your breath. The mudras, everything that you're doing is a gesture towards her and towards aligning your energies. And the Kundalini Shakti is completely in sync and completely in control. And you then are, almost reaching a stage of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which means that you're alive, you're well, but your consciousness is heightened.
Obviously, it depends on person to person, but very generic speaking, how long does it take to reach to that level?
A
I
lifetime,
mean, if someone is start,
a lifetime,
okay,
or perhaps
you
two,
gave
three
me the answer.
lifetimes. That's
Okay.
not for us to decide. It depends on our prarabdha karma,
Huh.
first of all. It is said
Hmm.
even in all the Tantra texts
Hmm.
that someone who is chosen for the Sri Vidya
Hmm.
path has either done this practice in his previous life or is veritably Shiva himself, or the third option is this is the last Janma. After this, there is
Okay.
only moksha. So these are the only three reasons why Sri Vidya has chosen a person.
Now coming to the second point, which is the mantra.
Hmm.
Second pillar is mantra. Now you mentioned a few mantras, right? I would again request you to name those. How does one get to know that this is the mantra for me? I'm talking about when they don't have a guru, but as you mentioned that in the beginning, a guru might not be absolutely necessary. At later stages, a guru is required for initiation or removing the curse that you mentioned of the mantra and so and so. So how does one, out of all these 6, 7, 8 mantras that you mentioned, how does one know that this is the mantra for me, or is it a trial and error method?
Now, Sri Vidya has many, many, many mantras.
Hmm.
Okay, I just mentioned a few. And also,
Hmm.
again, to reaffirm, there are no curses in the Sri Vidya
Hmm.
tradition. Every mantra is supremely powerful. There is no such thing as a cursed mantra.
Hmm.
Right? Now, for everyone, the starting point can only be one of the two mantras. One is the Bala Tripura Sundari mantra, which is just three bijas, or it can be the Mahaganapati mantra, which is a
Okay.
longer mantra. So, how I do it is if someone is already on the spiritual path, who has some practice, they have done some kriya, they have done some sadhana, they know, they are aware of how mantra sadhana works, then we can initiate those people into the Mahaganapati mantra because it's a long mantra. It has very powerful bijaksharas, but it's a longer one. Whereas someone who comes with zero background in spirituality, it's easier for them to start with the Bala Tripura Sundari mantra because it has only three aksharas: Aim, Kleem, Sau. Aim is the energy of Saraswati,
Yeah.
which is knowledge. Kleem is the energy of Kali, which is fearlessness. And Sau is the energy of Lakshmi. which is abundance. So this is the method which I personally use. Different people use different ways of assessing who gets on what mantra. But for me, this is the touchstone. If someone has some background in spirituality, then Mahaganapati works. They do Mahaganapati and then they do Bala Tripura Sundari mantra. For others, it's the Bala Tripura Sundari mantra followed by the Mahaganapati mantra. And then the rest follows.
Okay. So as you mentioned that you follow this Bala Tripura Sundari, the Bij mantra, Aum, Klim and Sau.
Aim, Klim, Sau. Yeah.
Aim, Klim, Sau. So after that, you also recite the mantra with the Ganpati mantra? Or that's a separate path that
progression. You start with Aim Klim Sau for a certain number of days, typically say 40 days or 108 days. And then you move on to the Mahaganapati mantra, which is for about a year or so. There's a certain calculation that is done. The number of bijas into the number of times it needs to be chanted in order for it to become efficacious.
Okay.
So because the Mahaganapati mantra is a much longer one, it takes about a year and a half to complete that count.
Okay. Wow.
So after that, you are then given a Shamala mantra, a Varahi mantra. After then, the the person who's initiating you feels you're ready. They will give you what is called the Panchadashi mantra. That is the 15-syllable mantra, which is the most important Sri Vidya mantra.
And then, that I think needs to be kept secret.
Even that can be chanted. It's okay. But not for beginners. If someone has been chanting the Lalita Sahastranama for many years, for example, they have an awareness of Devi, it can be chanted, but the Shodashi mantra is the top secret. It is said that Devi says, give your head, give the king's head, but do not give away the secret mantra because it is so potent and so powerful. That is
Shodashi is 16 verses?
16 mantra, 16 bijas.
16 mantras.
So it's the Panchadashi plus 1. And that it naturally has to come to you. You will know yourself what that 16th syllable is. Divine intelligence will reveal it to you. And at that time, you need a guru to ascertain whether what you are saying is correct. And that is the most important Diksha you will get in the Sri Vidya tradition.
How likely is it for a person to get this Shodashi mantra probably in this lifetime?
Have you seen people? I got it after about 3.5 years of practice.
Oh, you just mentioned to me lifetime and now you're saying that you got it in 3.5 years.
I got only Shodashi mantra. I didn't say that I have reached Nirvikalpa Samadhi. For that, I have to work another 40 years.
Wow, wow. Okay. So as now that you have got the Shodashi mantra, so what's, if you're allowed to share, what's the typical duration of sadhana that you do in a day?
About 3.5 to 4 hours.
3.5 to 4 hours each day?
Each day.
What if there is a break because of your physical, health or anything?
See, there are no rules. If I want, I can do 3 to 4 hours. On a day when I don't feel like doing any mantra chanting or any of the rituals, it's okay to take a break. Nobody is stopping me. Nobody is forcing me to do anything. And nothing ever damaging happens. Okay, we should just be clear that whatever we are doing is with the sense of devotion, with the sense of bhakti and sincerity. That's all. So there are times when one cannot practice. And there are times when we all go through these waves where we question spirituality itself. It happens with me also many times. I just take a break for a few days, go off everything, don't do any practices, but then I am so drawn back, I can't wait to go back and chant my Lalita Sahastranama and do my practice and do my japa and all of that. So I know that these waves will also come and go. I just surrender to that. There is no guilt for me. If I'm practicing, I do it wholeheartedly. If I'm not practicing, whatever I'm doing, I will do for wholeheartedly.
So, like I prefer meditating late in night, around maybe 11:30, because there are no unwanted noises, sounds, and you can really concentrate. So, is there any time of the day which is prescribed for this reciting this Odeshi mantra or your sadhana, or it's up to you when you can find time?
Sri Vidya Sadhana is closely associated with the tithis and the nityas of the moon.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, I personally feel it's better for me when I do it in the evening hours after sundown.
Okay.
And this is what even some of my gurus have said, that Lalita Sahastranama is best chanted in the evening. And also, our practice is largely an evening practice. Like Khadgamala
Hmm.
is said to be most effective if it is chanted at precisely 8 p.m. There's a certain energy
Okay.
in the air at 8 p.m.
Hmm. Hmm.
that can be harnessed the best. So, Khadgamala is an 8 p.m. event. It's like that. Evening is perfectly fine. And on a full moon, especially, where it's very important to chant the Lalita Sahasranama, it needs to be done only after the moon is visible and in the presence of the full moon, if possible.
So, someone very learned told me one thing, and I thought that, yeah, this is right, actually, the right way of looking at it. That the time of typical, I'm talking about the Hindu festivals. Now, why we celebrate festivals, that's a different issue, but he mentioned to me that when these festivals come, right, say Diwali is coming now, then there is Dashera and all that.
True.
On those days, if you're doing your sadhana, the result or the outcome is faster than any other normal day.
True.
Like we talk about the tirthals that we have in India.
Yeah.
Those are located at some specific geographical location where the energies are high.
Right.
So if someone suppose goes to Kailash, right? I had someone, Mayur Kalbag, on my show. He has been to Kailash with his guru, right? He mentioned that the meditation or sadhana or the mantra japa that I do in my home or elsewhere in hotel or anywhere, when I went to Kailash, I could feel that the energy was something else when I was meditating. And he mentioned that his guru mentioned that you should meditate here, right? So, does it also happen with Sri Vidya mantras that on certain days, like these, as you mentioned, full moon and other,
In the
the energies
Falashruti
become really high
itself
and you can,
of
huh,
the Lalita Sahasranama, it is said very clearly that it needs to be done every day. If you cannot do it every day, at least attempt to do it every Friday,
hmm,
every full moon day, on the Navami day of the 4 Navratris in a year, on your birthday, on the birthday of your spouse, on the birthday of your firstborn. Now, I'm quoting from the
hmm.
Falashruti, okay? I'm not making this up. It's all there in writing. And on all full moon days, New Year's Day also. So, this is all there in the Falashruti.
So New Year, I would just like to highlight the Hindu New Year.
Or any new year, which is bringing in of the new year, however we look at
Hmm,
it.
hmm.
Okay, if
Okay,
for us the
okay, understood.
Gregorian calendar is the new year, then so be that. If you go by the Vedic calendar, so be that.
Okay.
See,
So it's
because
your
time
birthday.
is a human construct. Let us understand, right?
Yeah.
So, this is just to affirm, for example, that on our birthday, there's a certain alignment
Hmm.
of the planets. That is why birthdays are important. So, it is necessary that you do the chant on that day. On Navami day, there's a certain energy. On full moon day, there's a certain different kind of energy. So, we are trying to harness all these energies.
So do you feel when you do on these particular days, do you feel the difference? Are you, I mean, because you are now at advanced stages, so can you feel the difference? Do you feel the difference in the air, in the energy?
Navratri, especially the Sharad Navratri, which we've just finished, is a
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
tremendously powerful time. The energy is immense. I can sense that, and the full moon is very very important. And yes, I will say for sure that the energy is different on a full moon. Also on a new moon, but we don't practice on a new moon. We take a break on a new moon. New moon energy is also very heavy. So if when you start becoming aware of all of this, you will understand it for yourself.
These are really organic things that come to you naturally, and you start then feeling it rather than hearing for someone else.
True. It happened with me as well. There were times when I just could
Hmm.
not explain why I was feeling physical discomfort or
Hmm.
uh, why I was feeling down. And then slowly over time, I realized it had a lot to do with the phases of the moon and also the various seasons, the Ritu Sandhis, as they are called in the Ayurvedic tradition. All of these things start coming to you instinctively then, and you know when a certain day has a different energy, and you're compelled to do a slightly broader sadhana on that day, or maybe a longer sadhana. So yes, all these, mm, there's a shift in awareness, there's a shift in your consciousness itself.
Uh, let's talk about the mudras, because we have not spoken much about it, because most of the time when we got to it, we said that one can skip this, right? So mantra, yantra, mudra, you mentioned that one can skip it for in the beginning, and the third one
Initially,
was fourth one was Kundalini. Yeah.
yes. See, with the mudras, when we
Hmm.
go deep into the practice and we start doing the
Hmm.
Navavarna Puja, as it is called, right?
Which puja? Sorry,
Navavarna Puja. The nine
Navavarna.
avarnas. There are nine
Okay.
avarnas in the Sri Yantra.
Yeah.
So we do the puja for all the nine avarnas. So at that time, the mudras become important. But these have
Hmm.
to be taught by a guru. Okay, so
Okay.
there is one mudra for each of the avarnas. Okay, so
Okay.
literally it's like this can you cannot learn off the internet.
Hmm. Hmm.
You
Hmm.
need a physical guru to teach you this. But that comes at
Okay.
a later stage. To reach that puja, it takes a long time. That takes at least 3 or 4 years into your practice to achieve that degree of understanding of the Sri Yantra to be able to do that puja. But basically, if you want to harness the energy of I'm Clean Sau, then the simplest method is to bring your four fingers like this together, the tips, and Aim is on the Agnya chakra, because Agnya chakra is the pineal and the
Hmm.
pituitary gland, has to do with knowledge.
Hmm.
So I'm on the Agnya chakra. Okay, Kleem on the heart, because fear is felt in the heart, right? When you're afraid, your heart starts beating faster. So Kleem is here, and Sao is on your Mooladhara chakra, just below your belly button.
Okay.
Now, in different traditions, it's done in different ways. There is no hard and fast rule. You can even do I'm, Kleem, Sau. Many people do it in different ways. But as far as I know, this alignment is correct, because I'm is with knowledge, Kleem is fearlessness, so which is related to the heart, and Sau is abundance, which is related to the Mooladhara chakra, which is the one of grounding, of survival, of abundance, and all of that. So for me, this makes rational sense. But people are free to use whatever they feel is required. Just understand one thing: where your attention goes, energy flows. So if you want to take your attention to your Agnya, then this is where you have to go. If you want to take your attention to your Anahata, then just touch that. So on and so forth.
Okay. The fourth one was
The Kundalini Shakti.
Kundalini. Yeah. Yeah. So so
Again,
let's talk about, so you Ganpati, as you meant, you have spoken last time also, is a guardian of Mooladhara chakra,
yes,
where you start the the spiritual meditation and your spiritual journey, awakening of the Kundalinis,
yes.
and the topmost Sahastradhara is where Shakti resides.
Sahasrara Chakra is where Shiva and
Hmm.
Shakti unite.
Okay.
Shakti
Okay.
resides everywhere.
Hmm.
Shakti is all around us, within us. Shakti is omnipotent.
Hmm.
But the Sahasrara is where Shiva and Shakti unite. For practical purposes, it's only the 6 chakras the which we need to focus on, from the Mooladhara till the Agnya.
So, what is the role of chakras in Sri Vidya sadhana? So, do you have to step by step awaken all the chakras in order to reach your final destination?
Yes. At least bring your energy till your Anahata chakra, because in Sri Vidya it is believed that Lalita resides in your Hridaya Guha. It is said even in the Lalita Sahastranama about the Dahar Akasha and about the fact that she resides in our heart. So it's very important for us to ensure that the energy moves upward at least till our heart level. What it means is that we've lost our lower baser instincts and we are moving towards the higher instincts. There is a spiritual evolution taking place and we are operating at a higher frequency. That is what it means in scientific terms. When we are saying we have to bring our energy till our anahata, it means get rid of all your base desires and start engaging with spirituality to acquire a higher level of consciousness.
Okay. And I believe awakening your Kundalini is associated with all the sadhanas that you do. I mean, anyone, whoever does any sort of sadhana, I mean, I think this is one of the common factors among all the sadhanas.
Yes.
Awakening your Kundalini.
Spiritual evolution comes with awakening one's Kundalini energy. That's when, see, it is that we are all living at one level of consciousness. In order for us to acquire a higher level, there are only certain methods available. Either one tries things like psilocybin or LSD, or has all these even ayahuasca and all these other substances, which I am not recommending, which gives you an opportunity to see beyond what lies in our realm of consciousness. The only other way in which you can reach that alternate consciousness is when you go through a feeling of awakening of the Kundalini. And you understand what it means to get this feeling of unification with the universe.
You're giving me so many perspectives now. Now, talking about this alternate consciousness methods, right? You mentioned ayahuasca. Let's talk about only the desi stuff. I'm focused on India as of now. Here, there are you'll find many practitioners who rely upon using of right, and there are many foreigners. I have spoken to a few, have been on my podcast. They mentioned that for them is allowed for meditation. It helps them to really connect. Nothing wrong, nothing right. What's your viewpoint?
The basic premise is nothing is wrong, nothing is right, but any drug, any substance abuse is abuse at the end of the day. It might give you short term highs, it might give you a sense of what lies beyond, but no reason to try it for that reason. I would say steer clear of it and just lead a normal sattvic life and do your practice. And if you're meant to have that awakening, it will happen. But do not engage in substance abuse for that reason. It is not, in my book, it is not permissible. Whether it's ayahuasca, whether it's DMT, any of these things, if we are doing it merely as recreation, I don't think it's correct. If someone has to do ayahuasca or DMT under strict medical conditions to get rid of PTSD, acceptable. If you're a war veteran, you're not able to overcome the stress, then it's acceptable. But for recreation, I would never advise.
I think many people have went and had tried this because of the internet, the
Yes.
content that they are
Yes.
consuming on the internet, because many people who have went ahead and tried these things, they have spoken about it, and now people go and try to, try out. Let me see what happens.
I find it
More
very
than,
irresponsible of people who advocate that people try these things out, because there
hmm,
are times when things go terribly, terribly wrong. Even with
yeah,
Kundalini awakening, with Kundalini energy, I would suggest for people to not fool around with this, because sometimes it can do severe damage. And as an instinctive healer, as an intuitive healer, I have
hmm,
several cases who come to me every month trying to undo the damage that they have done to themselves through Kundalini awakening, through using substances.
hmm.
So don't try any of these things.
Is it possible to reverse the damage?
With a lot of hard work, with a lot of energy work over years,
Hmm.
but the damage is very difficult to erase.
On the same line,
This
like
energy
we were
is very
discussing,
subtle.
right?
It's not something that one can pinpoint easily. If there is a physical ailment, if it manifests in
Hmm.
your body, it is still easy to point out and to correct it. But at the energy level, because there is nothing that is tangible or perceptible, that much more difficult to correct that.
On the same line, we were also discussing about this before we started the podcast. So as you mentioned that many people are trying to awaken in Kundalini after looking at one or two internet videos, right? And I think the same pattern is happening with Tantra. First, there was some negative connotation
Hmm.
about Tantra. People used to refrain from it. It was termed as black magic. Now, with so many learned people who are giving out the right information, for example, say kinds of Rajarshi Nandi sir and all that, they are giving out the right information and all that. But behind that, there are so many people who, without even proper knowledge, who are not sadhakas, who don't have proper lineage or anything. Lineage may be too hard a word to use. Who don't have the proper information, or they are not sadhakas themselves. They have not done deep sadhana.
Right.
These people are talking about some deeper tantra practices, which at the end of the day is influencing youngsters, right? It's a good thing you want to take up tantra. It's a good thing you want to be spiritually awakened. That's good till the time, but there has to be a purpose. Just because someone has said something on the internet or on a podcast, maybe you have said something on my show, you don't have to, a 16-year-old or 20-year-old does not have to go to, go and start doing without even having the proper knowledge or the
Hmm.
guidance. So substance using, tantra, kundalini awakening, these three have been propagated by many without proper information. What's your take on that?
Totally agreed. And a lot of people reach out to me again with the kind of damage that this is doing to the fabric of society in India
Hmm,
itself, where there are fraudulent people out there who are just waiting to take advantage of particularly women who are seekers and
hmm.
who appear to be needy, and people are taking advantage of that financial advantage every which way you look at it. I would say to everyone who listens to podcasts, who feed on these spiritual topics, just listen for the sake of listening. You don't have to practice everything.
Yeah.
If you're interested in medicine, for example,
Hmm,
you will listen to every type of ailment and how it is treated. It doesn't mean you have to try out everything for yourself.
yeah.
Be very, very cautious and try and align yourself with what appears to you to be real. And at the first red flag, just drop the entire practice and move away from it.
I see a lot of advertisement these days wherein people are claiming that with this course or with this workshop, you will be able to, awaken your Kundalini within 7 days, 10 days, whatever it was advertised. And now here we are talking to you who is a sadhaka, and there are so many others who say that it depends on person, completely on person to person, depends on your past life karmas, depends on your current karmas, depends on several other factors. What would be your message to youngsters, uh, and what would you say to them in terms of staying away from these
There are only
ads?
three ways in which Kundalini can really be awakened.
Hmm.
One is by sheer dint of sadhana over years and years of accurate practice. The second is a spontaneous awakening, which happens because in your previous janmas you have done enough that it has awakened in this janma. And the third is through Shaktipata by a guru. These are the only three ways. There is no other shortcut. Let us be very, very clear about this. Anyone else claiming anything is
Hmm.
only doing it for clickbait or for financial reasons. And everyone wants to become famous using the keywords nowadays, which is
Hmm.
Sri Vidya, Tantra, Mantra, Yantra. They use Mahavatar Babaji. They have never heard of him before, and then suddenly they claim they're from his lineage. So be aware, beware that not everyone is doing everything for the right, with the right intentions and for the right purposes.
Very, very probably a childish question to ask, but I will ask it because we are doing it for the audience. So when someone like this,
Hmm.
I know, who is trying to use the name of Sri Vidya, Lalita Tripura Sundari, a deity for their own personal benefits without, without even thinking that it could have repercussions on the other, does the deity take notice of it?
See, first of all, the deities are not sitting in judgment upon us. They are
Hmm.
beyond all of that. They are not sitting and saying you're doing right, you're doing wrong.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
crime is the punishment in itself. And they have come with a certain prarabdha karma,
Hmm.
and they are creating karma for themselves. We don't know what suffering they will undergo in this life or the
Hmm.
next. But the
Okay.
deity will not take cognizance of it, because deities are above all of this. They don't sit in judgment.
Hmm.
This is my understanding.
What do we talk about next? Because I'm really enjoying the conversation. I don't want it to end.
Mhm.
So, what do we talk about it? What do we talk about next? What's
Um,
there? What's more there?
a lot of people have been asking about the benefits of the Lalita Sahastranama.
Okay,
And
let's go with that.
yes, because it is helpful to a great many number of people.
Right.
First of all, the Lalita Sahasranama can be used for a variety of reasons.
Hmm. Ma'am, first of you mentioned in the last podcast, Lalita Sahasranama is 1,000 names of the Devi,
Correct.
right? So Lalita, I think, comes at the extreme last.
She's
Lalita,
third.
or
She's the third of the
she's
Dasha
third.
Mahavidyas.
There was out of the 1,000, which one was the last name? It's
The
Lalita Tripura
last
Sundari.
name was the thousandth name is Lalita.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But in the
Please go ahead.
Dashamahavidya tradition, she is the third
Huh.
goddess.
Yes.
Uh, there is something called the Falashruti. In for
Hmm.
every Sahasranama, whether it's for Vishnu Sahasranama, it is embedded within the Vishnu Sahasranama itself. What is the fruit you will get if you chant this Sahasranama? Now,
Hmm.
many people don't know that the Lalita Sahasranama, the Falashruti is not within the Lalita Sahasranama. So it is not
Hmm.
uh, read, it's not chanted regularly.
Hmm.
What it states is the benefits that accrue from the chanting. So things like how someone is seeking abundance, someone is seeking who's childless, who's infertile, how that is to
Hmm.
be resolved. If someone is ill, if someone wants, death, which is untimely, like an accident or whatever, how that can be avoided, how Pratyangira Devi or Shalabheshwara or Bhairava, all the, even the Kshetra, the main Kshetrapala, they all come to your protection if you chant the Lalita Sahasranama as per the Falashruti. So, all the more reason why people should get into this habit of learning the Lalita Sahasranama.
So, can someone, learn the Lalita Sahasranama and chant Lalita Sahasranama without even having the intention of getting into Sri Vidya?
Yes.
Like we do with Hanuman Chalisa or Om Namah Shivaya mantras.
But if they chant the Lalita Sahasranama,
Hmm.
it is completely Sri Vidya at the tip of their fingers.
Hmm.
They don't need to
Okay.
do anything else. This itself is a complete Sri Vidya practice.
Okay. Okay.
Now,
Uh,
talking about the Falashruti, it is useful when you are setting out with any intention. You can set out your sankalpa and then you can chant it in different ways. Either you can choose to chant the entire 1,000 names in one go, or you can chant names 1 to 111, which is what is called the Moola Grantha, which is
okay.
mainly laying out her attributes, after which the 89 names are all only like a commentary, right? Or you can do it in the Namavali form, which is you say Om Shri Matre Namaha, Om Shri Maharagni Namaha, or you can say Om Aim Reem Shreem Shri Matre Namaha. These are the different ways in which you can do the Lalita Sahasranama. Or if there is even more dire need of intervention, we can do what is called the Samputi Karana method, which is you break up the entire text and encapsulate it within the words of the Lalita Sahasranama itself, which is a complex method, but that is also one of the ways. Since I'm covering it, I might as well
Hmm. Hmm.
state that also. So these are all the resources which are available to people. And I have seen cases where terminally, seriously ill people with no hope of recovery have come out miraculously because of the Lalita Sahasranama. I have seen lives
Wow.
getting saved. I have seen people who have been battling with infertility for 20,
Hmm.
25 years have children. And I have seen people who were failing miserably, financially, debt ridden, not knowing what to do,
Hmm.
come out of all these situations. See, I'm not here to peddle false hope,
Hmm.
but these are all things that I'm seeing. So, if
Okay.
there is something that can offer a glimmer of hope for people who are seeking, then there is no harm in trying it out.
So normally, what we have seen or what we have heard or what we have been advised that
Mm,
if someone is terminally ill
mm,
or of something of that sort happens,
mm.
it's mostly the Mahamrityunjay jap
Yes,
that is done. That is a common, very common practice
true,
and very widespread, well-known information.
true.
Right. Now, here we are talking about Lalita Sahasranama.
See, first of
Right.
all, let me clarify here that if the person's prarabdha karma is over, he has to go.
Hmm. Hmm.
There is
Hmm.
nothing, no prayer on
Right.
earth can stop. But if it
Right.
is an untimely death,
Hmm.
and if there is a possibility that one can recover, then these interventions work, whether it's the Mahamrityunjaya mantra
Hmm.
or the Mahamrityunjaya Homa or the Lalita Sahasranama or even the Hanuman Chalisa, whatever is your
Hmm.
belief, then that works. But
Okay.
nothing on earth can override our own karma. If we have completed the number of breaths that we came here with,
Mhm.
then nothing on earth can stop that. Not stop us, stop our prana from leaving us.
Have you experienced, like you mentioned, that people have, got out of hospital of terminally ill patients have.
Ronik, I think I used the wrong word. terminally ill was wrong. I take my word back. It was not terminally ill, but it was more like an illness which the doctors had written off, saying there's no possibility of
Okay.
anything happening. So I think I
Huh.
used the wrong word there. Sorry about that.
So, you last time when we were talking about, you mentioned some miracles happening uh, here and there. You found that anklet and all that.
Yeah.
So this time I'm not going to ask you about your experiences. Have you seen people who have been chanting Lalita Sahastranama or Sri Vidya get out of some sort of trouble, be it physical, financial, or any other?
I see it
Have
every
you
day.
Could you share some experiences?
Many experiences, many people who've been traumatized for a long time overcome it
Hmm.
after 6 or 8 months of practice, who've been able to, there was one person who was close to bankruptcy, was about to
Hmm.
file for bankruptcy, didn't see any way out, but finally found solace and was able to avert the bankruptcy. I'm not saying that he made all his money back, but at least he was able to avert that situation. So, on a daily basis, I see this. For me, nothing is surprising anymore. And also, that when one gets on the path, the difficulties initially are very challenging. That also I see. It's not only, the stories of great
Hmm.
miracles. We also see the other side of it,
Yeah.
where people have to face challenges in order to move to the next level. So many, seismic events happen in their life, like earthquake. Literally, like, the earth is shaking where they are because they have to move on to the next thing. Because until one door closes, another cannot open.
Has anyone reached out to you? They have willingly started Lalita Sahasranama or Sri Vidya practice on their own. When you start something of that sort, after a certain time, I mean, I don't know, I could be completely wrong. Sometimes the DT could come in your dreams, or you could have some kind of visions. Have people reached out to you with those sort of experiences?
Every day, every
Okay.
single day. They tell me about the dreams that they have about Kali coming in their dreams or
Hmm. Hmm.
Pratyangira, and they have such vivid experiences that I would say those are not dreams, those are almost like literally the deities manifesting before their eyes.
Hmm.
I hear this every single day. There's nothing at all which is surprising about that.
Probably not for you, but who are starting, it could be a bit of overwhelming thing for experience for them.
I find it very strange because I've never dreamt about Mata. In
Okay.
spite of all my sadhana and practice, I never see her vision in my
Hmm.
dreams. In I did tell you that I had a vision of Pratyangira Devi once.
Hmm.
That till today feels like it happened just a moment ago and it is so fresh in my mind. I don't think we are capable of handling more than one vision in a lifetime. So I don't even seek it. But I'm surprised when people tell me that I dreamt of this and I dreamt of that, and I'm happy for them, but I don't have that experience. So that's how it is.
Do you think sometimes people just, for the sake of saying or the sake of gaining popularity, say that?
Perhaps they do, but for people who write into me, I don't see
Hmm.
any reason,
Yeah.
right? There's no need for them to lie to get my attention because I'm still responding to every single mail which comes to me. I get about 100 mails every day,
Hmm.
and obviously there's a process of sifting which my team has to do for me, but uh, I try and answer every single mail. So there's no reason for people to write, and this has been the same from June, July onwards, since the time I became a public figure, that people have access to writing to me, and it's the same thing. So I don't see people lying, large scale. There's no need for it. So there is some truth in it.
Okay. Uh, so out of the 2000 students that you mentioned, that you coach or you mentor or who are with you along this Sri Vidya path, uh, is there any ratio? I mean, just for the sake of
Yeah. At
knowing, is there any ratio?
2000 initiations, I said.
Okay.
I don't have 2000 students. I have just initiated 2000 people onto the
Okay.
path because I don't think of myself as a guru. I don't take myself too
Hmm.
seriously, Ronik. That's a whole different ball game which I don't want to
Yeah.
get into. It means that we have to expand our ego to a point where we think, we are
Hmm.
sitting on top of everyone and giving them gyan. That's not the path for me. But in terms of the ratio, I see that I would safely say it's 80% women. And also safely say that most of them are above the age of 40.
Why is that particular demographic reaching out to you or for to anyone else for this path?
I think, first of all, because I make it appear to them like there are no strict rules that they need to follow.
Hmm.
Because myself, I'm not, I don't always appear with a bindi, and I'm not always very, dharmic in that sense of the word.
Uh, uh,
And I do that deliberately because it's not that I'm ashamed of my, Sanatana dharma.
uh,
It's because then we become more approachable. Then people, I can also do the costume drama very well, wear a big bindi and then, wear all the rudraksh and all of that. But I choose not to
uh,
take that path. I know that will get me more eyeballs, that will get me more followers, but I don't want that. But I think
okay.
people resonate with the fact that I come from a similar background as they do, most women, where they also have active careers, they also have families, they also want some little bit of spirituality in their lives. And they see that I have been there, so they
Hmm.
feel that they can relate to me. This is my understanding. I don't know, I might be right or wrong.
So I have two last segments that I have in my mind. But before that, before I take that up, is there anything important that we are missing out while talking about Sri Vidya or Lalita Sahastranama that you would like to specifically highlight?
Nothing that we have not already covered, Ronik. If
Okay.
there's something
Okay.
that comes to your mind, I'm more than happy to address it, but I think we've pretty much covered everything.
I think I went beyond my capability. I think that was your blessings and Mata's blessings that, I could speak at length about all these things and I have so many questions around it because I have no idea about this. It just kept coming in, coming in, coming in. It was
Mhm.
very organic. Okay. So I would like to, in my second last segment, I would like to understand a bit about you. Right. You mentioned that in 2018 you started your sadhak journey. How was your childhood?
A very average childhood in South Bangalore.
Hmm.
Went to a very good school. I was in Bishop Cotton's, and then I did my bachelor's in English literature. Was always a very good student, and I was a rank holder in my bachelor's as well. But by the time I was giving my final year exam, I had my daughter. So
Oh,
yeah, I had my daughter when I was 20. And then I got married into a family which was very, very supportive. My father in law, my mother in law, both of them very good human beings. They are no longer here. Uh, Very, very supportive. They wanted me to do my master's. So I did my master's there again. I was a rank holder. I got the second rank. And then it was my father in law's dream to see that I do my PhD, but for a variety of reasons, it didn't happen.
hmm.
And but I got into an active career, and then after some years, I became an entrepreneur. I launched a company. I used to handle the international PR for state governments, so which
Okay.
entailed a lot of overseas travel, working with
Mhm.
ambassadors, working with Indian high commissions and embassies abroad, and all of that. So that is what I was doing up until this year, the beginning of this year. Simultaneously, also writing my books, also continuing to do my healing, which I've been doing for the past 23 years.
Hmm.
So that's a little bit about me.
Before 2018, were you spiritually inclined or did you have some sort of connection with any of deities? Did you feel that connection with
Not with
anyone?
deities. In 2003, I was initiated into transcendental meditation by my guru. He was
Okay.
a British gentleman. He lives in Goa now. His name is David Aitken. He was one of the students of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, direct students. So he initiated me into transcendental meditation in 2003. Then after that, I got busy with my career and bringing up my daughter and all of that. So till 2018, I didn't really have an opportunity. It was only once my daughter got married, then
Hmm.
all of this happened. I think it was divine timing because it was almost like now this chapter of your life is closed. Your daughter,
Hmm.
the responsibility is over. Now move on to spreading Devi consciousness. So I
Okay.
think of it like that. And by then my in-laws had passed away, so I had done my fulfilled my obligations towards them in every way possible, because for me that is paramount. Our responsibilities
Hmm.
have to be fulfilled at any cost, even if it means that we have to make tremendous amount of sacrifice. That needs to be done.
Okay. So when people behind the veil of spirituality and religious practices, when they shirk their responsibilities, duties,
Yes,
is it right?
it's not at all right, because they will pay a price sometime in the future,
Hmm.
maybe in this life or maybe in another lifetime, but there is no getting away from it. The reason why we came on this earth was to
Hmm.
fulfill those obligations, to clear that runanubandha with which we came. So if
Yeah.
we are not doing that, then we are only adding much more to our karmic load than what we came with.
So I think with that, we are almost at the end of the podcast. We had a really deep discussion around Sri Vidya, and people will find a lot of value. Now, if you allow me, with your permission, I would like to touch upon some of the comments that we received on our last
Sure.
podcast, and probably, go back to those
Mhm.
people and give them their answer.
Right.
Uh, I will take some of the negative comments as well,
Sure.
because most
See,
of the let's
Rohit, I never read comments because
huh.
they affect me at a very deep level. So I never read anything. So I'm more than happy to hear it from you.
Okay. Uh, okay, let me see which one to take first. Okay. Ma'am, this is not naming anyone.
Mm,
So, ma'am, what pramanam or proof or reference
mm.
do you have for saying that Bala or Panchdashi do not need initiation? When authentic gurus proclaim that even these mantras need initiation, how can you say the reverse?
In all the tantric texts,
Hmm.
it is said that you can Sri Vidya can be started by anyone regardless
Hmm.
of everything else, and there are
Hmm.
many people who ascribe
Hmm.
to this also, who are tantric experts. They say
Okay.
that there is no limitation to anyone starting.
Hmm.
I am not saying that a guru is never needed on the path. That is, I have never said that. But to begin on the path, there is no need of initiation, which is said in every Tantra text. Every Tantra expert will vouch for this as pramana. That itself is the pramana.
Okay. Okay. Now
And
this is a
for
beautiful
Lalita
one.
Sahastranama, it is said in the Falashruti itself.
Hmm.
Please go and read the Falashruti and see for yourself, where it says that anyone who does it with devotion is eligible to chant the Lalita Sahasranama.
Okay. Uh, this is a beautiful one. You, madam, are doing a great job. May you be blessed. So this was just a comment.
Thank you.
Someone is asking Shat Chakra Nirupanam
Yeah, Shat
is
Chakra Nirupa.
is it authentic text on chakras and yogini?
Yes, it is. The Shatchakra
Okay.
Nirupana was the first text which
Hmm.
outlined the six chakras
Hmm.
and gave the importance of it in our entire literature. And that is the first point of reference, and that is the first book one should read. And from there, came Sir Arthur Avalon, who is also known as John Woodruff, his works on the Kundalini Shakti, the serpent energy, and all of that. So that is the seminal text which can be used as reference material.
Someone here, because there was a question about guru, you saying that guru is not required. Because see, that's where the challenge is for us podcasters, for us creators, that sometimes, when we cut the reels, right, people. So the basic idea of a reel is to gauge the interest, gain your interest, and then push you to the main video.
Correct.
Because in a YouTube allows for a short to be just under 1 minute.
Right.
In a 1 minute, how much information can you put in?
True.
The basic idea of a short is to push you to the main video. People don't have the patience to
Right.
listen to the video. Then they come back and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, because they have not heard the entire thing.
True.
They have not heard that discussion in its entirety.
Agreed.
So here is someone who is supporting us, that a true or real, I'll just summarize because it's a long comment.
Right.
So a true or real spiritual seeker or practitioner doesn't raise question, because each and everything is spiritual in this universe. I am one of the disciple of Vinita ma'am. Okay, she's a disciple of yours, and I very well know about Vinita madam's strength and all the spirituality. So I contacted madam through email at the right time. I'm eagerly waiting to meet Vinita. So see, people are now reaching out on my podcast comments that they want to meet you. You are so wanted in a very good sense. I left eating non-veg in this pod. Okay, this is something good for me as well. I haven't read this because this was a long comment. In this podcast, we got so much clarity about my spiritual journey, and this is what I observing in my daily life. You explained very precious words for people who are in the path of spirituality. Okay, that was good. Anything else? Okay, let me see. There is again another question about guru is very important. How will one navigate problems of sadhana? We can start off, but at a point without guru, progress stops. You answered that already, that you're saying that you're not saying without guru, but
Correct.
you can begin it. Then at certain stage, you will have to seek the blessings of the and the direction of the guru. Okay. Namaste Vinita Ji, please suggest some text book which can give Gudda, I don't know what Gudda means. Gudda Earth of Lalita Sahastranama.
I think they mean the
good.
esoteric meaning of the hidden meaning of the Lalita Sahastranama.
Okay.
So because it's there are various layers in the meaning. I would say I'm pitching for my own book. The book which is most recently launched goes into the esoteric wisdom of the Lalita Sahastranama, going into the unknown meaning of most of the names, the hidden meanings, which have been kept largely away from the public eye. So I would say explore that book. It's now available on Amazon, on Flipkart, through Shunya Wellness. It's available on various platforms. It might be useful.
So someone said that because it released, the podcast was released before the book release. So someone is saying that we are waiting for the book.
Right.
Then there is someone who is saying this lady is intelligent. I pray her book is successful.
Thank you.
And okay, this is a negative one, but let's check it. This woman has no lineage nor guru.
True.
Her knowledge is all over the place. She has no respect for Sri Vidya nor Tantra. She has no idea of the Ang and Upang Devtas of Devi and just goes on spewing her neo spiritual ideas without any Shastra Praman.
Agreed. Whoever it is, please come as my guru. I'm more than happy to learn from you. But yes, I agree. I do not know it all. I have very limited knowledge, and I'm the first one to accept that. But it is, I would like to say that this is not, some neo tantra, neo philosophy that I am practicing. I do not believe in the lineage, in a parampara. And this is one question which actually absolutely irritates me. I don't get irritated easily because when people start looking for something as proof, then first of all, what are they seeking? If this is not proof enough, then I really don't know how to qualify their search. So I am not at all the person to guide them. let them look for, the person with the longest lineage. If that suits them, it's perfectly okay with me.
Someone says, thank you, Sri Mata. All the very best for your upcoming book, Sri Matre Nama. Okay, here's a good one. Sri Matre Nama. Guru Ma indeed has helped me to understand about Sri Vidya. I am waiting to read her books. Okay. Here is a question, another one. Madam, what is Mahaganpati mantra in Sri Vidya? If it is allowed to, or if it is time,
Yes,
can
so
be spoken.
yeah, the Mahaganapati mantra, like I said, is one of the mantras
Hmm.
with which one enters the portal of Sri
Hmm.
Vidya. So,
Hmm.
like we spoke in the previous episode,
Hmm.
Mahaganapati does not refer to Ganapati in the form that we are used to seeing him,
Right.
but
Right.
the tattva of Ganapati,
Hmm.
which is that of a Vignaharta who will make sure that we can proceed on our path of Sri Vidya. So, it is a
Okay.
very important step in the Sri Vidya sadhana.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vinita Ji. I think every time I meet you or I speak to you, I gain a lot. And I don't know, so from somewhere there is you have that energy that rubs off on other people. This is the first time that I did this. That I read comments of the last podcast and all the negative positive. I did not leave out anything.
Yeah,
That's for people to see.
true.
And this was a good thing. I think this was a good segment. I think I will include it in upcoming podcast as well. It's required, because
True.
people comment, they spend their time, whether it's negative, positive, they're spending the
I
time, they're
totally
watching the
agree.
video. Because someone who is not commenting, that means they have not watched the video or they
Right.
have just skipped it. If someone has commented, that means they have watched the entire video, then they have felt something, then they have written about it.
So I respect every comment which comes, but I don't have the ability to handle reading the comment. So I will still refrain from
Right.
reading it simply because
Absolutely.
I am
Absolutely.
doing the work that I am being
Hmm.
guided by her to do. I have no intentions of, trying to be more popular or trying to get only positive
Hmm.
comments. I am game for everything. So it doesn't matter to me. I will continue to do this work
I
regardless
think
of what you say.
my comments to, my reply to those comments will be the link of this video when this releases. So that will be the best response to those. Thank you
Well,
again,
I
Vinita
wish
ji.
all of them a lot of abundance. Whoever has commented
Hmm.
positively, negatively, and those who have not commented also, may Devi bless them with an abundance of all things enriching so that they have wholesome, fulfilling lives, which makes them proceed on their spiritual path in whatever way they feel fits their bill. And I wish all of them tremendous success in life, in whatever aspect of living that they deserve it the most.
Thank you so much, Vinita ji, and for the fact that uh, we had set a timeline, but we crossed that because of this segment, and you're patient enough to, handle all the comments and everything. And thank you for being again on the show and giving us so much. Uh, Last episode, this episode, both podcasts have been really, enriching for me personally. And I believe the same kind of responses we have received. And I can safely say that it has been enriching for the viewers as well. Uh,
Thank you for this
any
opportunity, Ronik ji. Means a lot to
My
me
pleasure,
to
ma'am.
be
My
able
pleasure.
to bring the message of Devi. And thank you for being a part of this movement where we are spreading her consciousness. And to everyone out there, please do your bit to also spread her word.
Absolutely. And before we let you go, any parting words, any messages?
Just a blessing from the Sri Suktam. ॐ श्रीवर्चस्वमायुष्यमारोग्यमा विधाचोपमानं महीयते धान्यं धनं पशुं बहुपुत्रलाभं शतसंवत्सरं दीर्घमायुः श्रीमात्रे नमः.
If I may just ask you to just briefly tell us what is the meaning of this whole shot.
It's a blessing which gives you abundance in all aspects of life, from the
Okay.
food that we eat to the amount of wealth that we acquire to having good progeny to good health to a long life. It covers every aspect of living, and it comes from our oldest Veda, which is the Rig Veda, which is the reason why I find it tremendously powerful and enriching.
Thank you so much, Vinita Ji. Thank you again.
Shri Matre Namaha. Thank
Shri
you, Ron.
Matre Namah. Shri Matre Namah.